Hello and welcome back to our last and final session on what makes a great pitch. We've come a long way when we started from on day one with a review of basic ground rules. I think in the last three sessions we've spent a lot of time trying to help you figure out everything that you need to do to make your pitch real and to make it credible. In this session, I just want to bring everything together and just leave you with a list of tips and feedback. Stuff that I've always liked as a judge, stuff that I've disliked as a judge, stuff that works, stuff that doesn't work, and a basic roadmap, a list of questions that you should be prepared to answer as far as your pitch is concerned. Now, in terms of the stuff that I really like is that you'd be surprised how easy is it to tell when a candidate walks in and makes a presentation and you know for a fact that he has done it before, that he has rehearsed it, that he has prepared it, that he has pitched it before. And it's also just as easy to tell when a candidate has not done it before, when he hasn't invested the relevant time in presenting, in selling an idea. And the primary difference between the two individuals, so the guy who's done it before and walks into my room and the guy who's never done it before and walks into my room, the primary difference between the two is if I call this gentleman A and I call this gentleman B. I think A respects my intellect, respects my intelligence, respects my time, and I really appreciate that, and B doesn't, and I don't appreciate it. So if you want to get judges on your side, the first thing that you really have to do is to be prepared and to rehearse what you're going to say. It has to be a complete, finished, final production. You can't just walk in, you just can't get out of bed in the morning and go out and pitch an idea. You actually have to do a fair bit of work before you get to a stage where people on the other side of the table will listen to you and actually give you what you really want out of the exercise. That's one. Now, I think in one of the initial sessions that we'd run, I'd mentioned that there are a list of simple, very basic questions that I want people to answer when they sit down and work with me. And in that list of questions, the first thing that is there in the mind of a judge, in the mind of an investor, in the mind of the person who's sitting on the other side of the table, is this may be a great idea. So, full points on coming up with a great idea. But can you turn this idea into a product? And when the product is ready, can you actually go out and sell it and generate sales? And when you look at the sales generation piece, there are a handful of things that come up. The first thing that comes up is the customer persona. It's the voice of the customer. So when you present, there are 3 or 4 things that I want you to do very quickly. The first thing, step number 1 that I want you to do is kill any doubts about your ability to sell, your ability to generate sales from this specific product. And the only way to answer that is by showing me not the work that you've done in documenting the voice of the customer, not the work that you've done in building the persona of the customer or his profile. No, that's not what I want to see. I don't want to see the work that you've done. What I want to see is the result of that work. What I really want to see is the insight that you've generated based on the work that you've done, right? And what and then what those insights then imply and mean in terms of my ability to award you numbers for making it real, for making it credible, right? So the first piece that I want to see, that I'm really interested in hearing about, where I'm actually going to go out and grade you and decide how I'm going to take this further, is your ability to describe who the customer is and what drives his reason and rationale for buying or selling. Now, if you've done a good job of understanding the voice of the customer, you also need to figure out how to pitch it and present it. Now, when it comes to presenting it, pitching and presenting it and pricing it right, both of these elements are linked to something that we spoke about earlier, but we haven't spent a lot of time on, and that is the product or service, feature pane grid. So the product feature pane grid basically goes out and says that, I have a customer who has a toothache, and this toothache is on account of the fact that he has an impacted wisdom tooth. And the reason why he has a toothache is because the toothbrush that he has right now is not deep enough, flexible enough, wide enough, strong enough, doesn't have enough reach for him to actually reach all the way inside his dental cavity and clean up the impacted wisdom tooth. So the customer's pain is literally a toothache. The reason and rationale for that toothache is what we call, in what we've labeled, an impacted wisdom tooth. And the ultimate thing that would solve his pain is reach. So the product that I've built, the next generation space technology based, NASA certified toothbrush that I'm building and selling and pitching in this meeting has reach. Customer's primary problem is that he can't reach it. The product that I've built has reach. It's a toothpaste that comes with a flexible head that you can move around all the way inside your molars to clean up your impacted wisdom tooth and get relief. Right? So both the presentation and the pricing it right piece allows you to actually pick up what you've understood about the pain of a customer, link it to your product design decisions, link it to the feature set that you want to include in the specific product, link it to the right pricing that needs to be done, and then present it. And if you haven't done one, you can't do the other. If you haven't understood the customer or his pain, or how his pain points translate into the product that you need to build or the features that you need to build in your product, then this is not going to work, right? Assuming that you've gotten the first three pieces right, which is the voice of the customer, the product feature pane grid, and then link that to both pricing and presentation, then I have a simple question. And my simple question is, listen, this is a great idea. This is a great concept. Who are you going to sell it to? Do you have a list of people that you're going to call? Who are the first 10 people that you're going to call? And when you talk to me about the people you're going to call, can you also tell me who these guys are? What do they look like? What's their profile? What's their background? How do you know them? How did you reach them? And when you actually sit down in front of them and talk to them, what is the script that you are going to follow? And try that script out to me. Tell me how that conversation would start and how that conversation would end, and how that conversation would work when it is successful, and how that conversation would work when it is not. And if it doesn't work for you, if a customer actually comes out and says no, then how do you move on to the next stage? Do you just walk away, or is there something that you can actually come back to him with uh, uh, with respect to this conversation? And then the last and final piece is that if you have this list, you build this list, what have you done to follow up on it? How many sales calls have you actually made? And the feedback that you've received, and how does this feedback actually work? So now, if you do this piece for me, if you actually come out and say, I had this great idea of a product, and then I basically went to this group of people who could possibly use this product, and I sat with them for the next 6 months or so, and I worked with them to build something that allowed me to completely map, or even if I didn't take care of all of the pain points, I picked up the biggest pain point that they had and built a product that had a feature that completely eradicated that pain, and then I've priced in such a fashion that it's affordable, that they're willing to pay for it, and I've presented to them, and I actually have a handful of them that I've spoken to, and I'm at a stage, where I either have a sales contract, or I'm close to getting a sales contract. I either have revenues, or I'm very close to the point where I would have revenues. If you can say this as part of your presentation, then you're golden. You're gold in front of customers and you're gold in front of investors because you've done the hard work and you've followed the process that you're supposed to follow. And if you can just figure out how to say this very quickly without losing the audience or without putting them to sleep, then you have a huge advantage over anybody else who's in the same space. So that's number one. Now, question number two that I want you to spend some time on is, again, I'm not interested in seeing the work that you've done in documenting the voice of the customer. But what I'm really interested in seeing is how well do you understand this guy. And if you go back to what we just spoke about earlier, the sales script that you prepare, what I'm interested in hearing, this sales script is directly dependent on your ability to build a portrait of this customer, to understand where this is coming from and how this should be pitched. But to figure out how to pitch it and where this is coming from, you actually need to understand where in the world does this guy live and operate and work from and chill and relax, and how are you going to reach him, right? So that's the second piece. The first piece, as I said earlier, is how you're going to sell it, or even worse, can you sell it? And then, okay, yes, you can sell it and you think you can sell it, but do you know where to find your customers, and how are you going to go about scripting your sales conversation? Then after this, the third and last and final piece that I want you to address as part of your pitch is what we spoke about earlier, which is your business model, right? So the reason why I brought these three items back from our earlier sessions is very simple. If you think in terms of the structure of a pitch, some of the most impressive pitches that I've seen in my life are pitches that answer the three questions that we've just spoken about, right? What are the three questions? The first question is, how are you going to sell it? The second question is, who are you going to sell it to? And then the third question is, are you going to make money doing this? Make money doing this, right? These are my three questions, right? So I said earlier, I'm going to talk to you about stuff that I like. The best presentation that I've seen, the presentation that I've given the highest numbers, presentation that I've actually gone out and put money down, my own money down, are presentations where the gentleman, the individual who's pitching, walks in and answers these three questions. Now, when I say, I'm not saying you walk in and say, I'm going to sell it to customer A, and I'm going to sell it to customer A because of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and I'm going to make money by, making it for $2 and selling it for $10, and the $8 is my margin. That's not what I mean. Mean is, a pitch is a performance. It's one of the most important performances you're ever going to give in your life. And when you think in terms of what goes into a performance is obviously made performance. Sorry, apologies for my. Okay, so performance is always aimed and targeted at an audience, right? This audience is obviously somebody with a personality as well as expectations. And in this pitch, what judges, what mentors, what investors, and what to some extent VCs also want in this pitch, they would really want to. Maybe entertainment is not the right word. Maybe the right word is engaged. Yeah. We all love to share a performance where the performer completely, absolutely, totally engages us. And when you say engages us, what does that engagement mean? I think I have a presentation that I saw a long time back where the founder of LinkedIn basically said that all entrepreneurs are typically traditionally clinically insane because they can see things other can't see. They believe that there is a vision that will ultimately someday at some point in time turn into reality, and that's what they believe in, that's what drives them, and that's what they actually go out and build and deliver on, right? So when I talk about engaging your audience, I'm actually saying whatever dream you have, whatever dream that drives you, that motivates you, that pushes you, if you can share that dream in such a fashion with your audience that they are absolutely, completely, positively, totally engaged, then you won. And if you can't, then you failed. So how do you engage the audience? How do you, as I said earlier, entertainment is not the best choice of words, but how do you entertain and engage your audience? You entertain and engage the audience not by telling them. That's the biggest mistake that you can make. You can't engage or entertain an audience by telling them. This is a no-no. You have to show them. And if you can show them, if you can show them the world that you see, you can't tell them about it. If you can show them the world that you see, then they can draw their own conclusion. And again, the best presentation that I've ever seen, the best pitches that I've ever been honored to receive, were pitches where the the person who was presenting walked in and absolutely, positively, totally engaged us by showing us the world, by helping us see the world that he was building. And he did that primarily, on most occasions, by telling us a story